In this video, you will learn to understand place value, to express numbers in different ways, to compare and order numbers, and to round whole numbers. So let's begin with understanding place value. Right here we see this very large number, and we're going to break it down to show you the different components or different parts of this very large number. So notice we have this color coordinated. Hopefully this will help you a little bit to visualize what we're talking about. And notice here these last three digits in green, these are considered ones. And then the blue would be thousands, the orange would be millions, and the yellow would be billions. All right, so more specifically, if you look here in these three different ones place, this particular spot is considered the one. So the first number is the ones place. And then the next number would be the tens place. Then we have the 0 would be the hundreds place. And then the 9 would be the thousands or 1000s place. The 8 would be 10,000s. The 7 is 100,000s. So notice how it's progressing with each set of three numbers. We go ones, tens, hundreds. Here we have 1000s, 10,000s, 100,000s. Keeping this pattern going, if we know that these next three numbers are millions, the 6 would be the 1 millions, or just millions place. The 5 would be 10, or 10 millions place. And the 1, that third digit, is going to be 100 millions place. And then looking at the billions, this 2 is going to be specifically the 1 billions place. The 3 would be considered the 10 billions. And the 4 would be the 100 billions place. So again, notice the pattern that the first number on the right is going to be the ones. So we have ones, 1000s, 1 millions, 1 billions. And then the second digit, the middle number with each set of three, is going to be the tens place. So like tens, we have 10,000s, 10 millions, 10 billions. So notice that pattern there. And then the third digit, so the third digit on the left for each set of three numbers, is going to be the hundreds place. So we have hundreds, and then 100,000s for over here, 100 millions for over here, and 100 billions for the 4. So make sure you know each name for each number, at least up to the 100 billions place. And then there are digits that could continue after billions, but typically we don't see those numbers. But after billions would be trillions, and then after that, you get some kind of weird names. But anyway, so here we have this really massive number, and if I want to interpret this into English, so convert this number and just state this number in English. What we have is this 432 is billions. So we have 432 billions. All right, and then the 156 is millions. So we have 156 millions. And the 789, those are thousands. So we have 789,000. And then over here, the 0, 1, 2, this would just be 12. All right, so we would say this as 432 billion, 156 million, 789,012. So make sure you know how to interpret any size number and to convert into English. Now, with numbers, there are different ways to express numbers. So we have just regular number form, that would be considered standard form. You can also write in words, so you can write this in English, which we just did that a moment ago. We also have what's called expanded form. Now, expanded form you really don't use very often, but it's kind of important to kind of know how this works. So with expanded form, what I do is I take each digit and write the value of that digit. So like the 4, for example, remember this is the 100 billions place. So this 4 I can write as 400 billion. And we see that right here. So this first number, okay, 400 billion. All right, so we did the 4. Now we do the 3. Remember, the 3 is in the 10 billions place. So this 3 means we have 30 billion. So we see that here, we write it out with numbers. We have 30 billion. So we write that out. So we add them together. We have 400 million plus the 30 billion. Or sorry, 400 billion plus 30 billion. And then next we have the 2. So the 2 is in the billions place, or the 1 billions place. So here we have 2 billions. And we see that written right here. So 2 billion right there. So for the yellow digits, we have 400 billion plus a 30 billion plus 2 billion. And then we can proceed with the other numbers. So the 1, 5, and 6, the kind of orangish color, that is going to be all the millions location. So the 1, more specifically, is the 100 millions. So the 1 can be written as 100 million. And we see that right here, 100 million. So we add that with everything else so far. And then we have the 5. So the 5 is in the 10 millions place. So we have 5 10 millions, or 50 million. So we add that right here. So we have 50 million right here. And then look at the 6. The 6 is in the millions place. So we can write this as 6 million. We see that written right here. We'd write that as 6 million. And notice we're adding all of these numbers together, which is what we have in the standard form. We just write it in a different way in expanded form. And then we can now look at the blue digits. So we have 7, 8, and 9. The 7 is in the hundred thousands place. So we have 700,000, and we see that written right here. So plus 700,000. And next we have the 8. 8 is in the 10,000s place. So we have 8 10,000s, or 80,000. And we see that written right here. And then we do the 9. The 9 is in the thousands place. So we have 9 thousands, or 9,000. We see that added right here. And that takes care of all the blue numbers. So next we have the green. So the 0 is in the hundreds place. So we have 0 hundreds, which we don't need to write that, so we don't write that over here. And then the 1 is in the tens place. So we have 1 10, or 10. We see that right here. And the 2 is in the ones place. So we have 2 ones, or 2. We see that added right here. So we've taken this very large number and we've expanded it into this format. So this is just good to know, to understand how these numbers are working, and it's just a different way of writing the same thing. And a fourth way in which we can express numbers is in what is called expanded form with multiplication. So it's very similar to what we just did, but instead of, for each number, instead of writing it as like 400 billion or 30 million, what I do is I take the number, so like 4 for the first one, and we said that was in the 100 billions place. So we take 4 and multiply by 100 billion. And that is what we see right here. That's what we see right here in this first part. So 4 times 100 billion. And then the 3 is in the 10 billions place. So we have 3 times 10 billion. That's that value. We see that right here. And the 2 is in the 1 billions place. So we have 2 times 1 billion, which is written right here. So it's another way of writing our original number. So we've taken care of the yellow. We can do that with the orange, blue, and green. So the 1 is in the 100 millions. So we have 1 times 100 million, which is right here. The 5 is in the 10 millions place. So we have 5 times 10 million, which is right here. And then we have 6 in the millions place. So we have 6 times 1 million right here. All right, so we've taken care of the orange numbers. Next we have the blue. 7 is in the 100,000s place. So I do 7 times 100,000. We see that right here. 8 is in the 10,000s place. So we have 8 times 10,000, which is right here. And then 9 is in the thousands place. So we have 9 times 1,000, which is right here. And then for the green, we have 0 hundreds. 0 is in the hundreds place, so 0 times 100 is 0. So there's no need to write that. Next we have the 1. The 1 is in the tens place. So we have 1 times 10, which is going to be the 10. And then the 2 is in the ones place. So I do 2 times 1, which I should have put the 2 first. So 2 times 1 for that part. All right, so that's another way of writing the same thing. So all 4 expressions are the same thing, just written in different ways. Next, we need to know how to compare and order numbers. So if you had 2 numbers and you were told to tell which one is bigger, that is what we need to do in this part. So right here we have 2 different numbers. All right, so this first number would be stated in English as 4,321,678. The second number is 432,167. So what you want to do is begin by looking at the first number. So look at the 4s. And notice in this case, the 4 is in the millions place for the first number. Second number, the 4 is in the hundred thousands place. So what number is bigger? Is million bigger or is hundred thousands bigger? Well, millions are bigger than hundred thousands, so therefore 4,321,678 is bigger than 432,167. And we also know that because the first number has 7 digits, whereas the second number has 6 digits. So we can compare also the number of digits. So 7 digits is more than 6 digits, therefore we know that first number is bigger than the second number. Alright, so by the way, notice that symbol being used right here. So that symbol is a symbol for greater than. So if you've not seen that before, that symbol means greater than or bigger than. And if it was facing the other way, that means less than. If you forget which one is which, notice that the less than symbol looks kind of like an L. So L for less than. Okay, so that's maybe a way you can remember which one is which. So that is how you know which one is greater or less. And also, by the way, if you notice, this looks kind of like a mouth. So like the greater than sign, you can maybe even draw a mouth in here. And you can be creative with that if you want. You can put teeth, eyes, whatever. So the mouth should always face the bigger number. So think of like Pac-Man or maybe some hungry animal. You always, if it's a hungry animal, it's always going to want to eat more, right? So it's going to be facing, mouth is facing the bigger number because it wants more. All right, so that's another reason why this mouth right here for the greater than sign is facing to the left, because that number on the left is bigger. And again, as we stated, 4 million is bigger than 400,000. So therefore, again, the number on the left is bigger than the one on the right. Next, we have another example where we have 987,654 and we have 988,312. So this one's maybe not as obvious which number is bigger because they have the same number of digits. Whereas the first example, it was easier to tell because the bigger number had more numbers, more digits. So if it's the same number of digits, what I can do is begin looking at the first number. So notice the first numbers are both 9. All right, so that does not help us at all. So let's move on to the next number. The second number for both numbers are 8. So again, those are the same. We can't tell which one is bigger at the moment. So we move on to the third number. So notice the third numbers are different. We have a 7 here and an 8 over here. So looking at the 7 and the 8. Okay, the 7 is smaller than 8. Therefore, this first number is smaller than the second number. And again, notice the symbol. We have this less than sign. Remember, the less than sign looks kind of like an L. So L for less than. And notice also the mouth is facing that bigger number. So the bigger number is on the right. So the mouth is facing that number on the right. So 7 is in the thousands place. 7,000 is less than 8,000. So again, that also shows us that the first number is smaller than the second number. Now lastly, we're going to finish with rounding whole numbers. So here is a number, and we are going to learn how to round whole numbers. When we say round, what we're trying to do is we're trying to see what number it's closest to. And we can do this different ways depending on what number or what place value we're concerned with. So this number here in English, you would say 6,574,835,210. And we can round this to any place value. We can round to the nearest billion or 100,000 or 10,000. 100 million, 10 million, 1 million. We can round to any number or any place value. So for example, if I want to round to the nearest billion, what I'm asking is which billion is it closer to? Well, what does that mean exactly? Well, we have this number 6 billion is in between 6 and 7 billion, right? If I put this on a number line, like here would be 6 billion, and then over here would be 7 billion. And then this number, 6,574,835,210, the question is which number, which billion, is it closer to? Is it closer to the 6 or the 7? Well, it would be somewhere around here, which is a little past half. And I know it's past half because I can look at this number right here. So whenever I round to a particular place value, I look at the number before it. So if I round to the nearest billion, billion would be the 6. What I do is I look at the place before that, which in this case would be 100 million. So to know if it's closer to 6 or 7, I look at this number, and if this number is 5 or bigger, so 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, I'm going to round it up, meaning it's going to be closer to the number after. So in this particular case, rounding to the nearest billion, it's going to round to 7 billion. It's closer to 7 billion than to 6 billion. If this number is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, that means we keep the original place value. So this would stay at a 6 for 6 billion if this 100 millionths place was 0 through 4. So as we said, it's closer to 7 billion, so I'm going to round to 7 billion. But we can also round to other place values. We could round to the nearest 100 million if we wanted to. So to round to the nearest 100 million, we are looking to round this number. So we're trying to determine, is this number, this large number, is it closer to 6,500,000,000 or 6,600,000,000? Because this number is in between those two 100 millions place. So to answer that question, I'm going to look at the one before it. So look at the 7, which is the number before. So looking at the 7, we would round the 5 up to a 6 if this number is 5 or bigger. So notice it is bigger than 5, so therefore I'm going to round the 5 here up to a 6. So I can round this number to 6,600,000,000. I could continue, and I can round, if I wanted, to the nearest 10 million. So the 10 millionths place is right here. It's the 7, right? That's the 10 millionths place. So I'm asking, which 10 million is it closer to? Is it closer to 6,570,000,000 million, or 6,580 million? So to answer that question, I look at the number before it, which is going to be this 4. So because it is less than 5, that means I keep this number the same, and that would be 6,570 million. So it's closer to 570 million than to 580 million. And again, I can continue and I can round to maybe the millions place. So rounding the millions place, I'm trying to look at this number. This is the millions place. And I'm trying to round this and see, is it closer, is the entire number closer to 6,574 million or 6,575 million? So to answer that, I look at this number right before. So look at the 8. And because it is 5 or bigger, it's bigger than 5, I can round the 4 up to 5. So this would become 6,575 million. So that is how I round to the nearest million. I could round, if I wanted, to the nearest 100,000. So the 100,000th place is the 8. I look at the number before it, which is the 3. And because the 3 is less than 5, I keep the 8 right there at 8. So this would round to 6,574 million and then 800,000. Next we can round to the 10,000th place. So 10,000th place, we're trying to round this number, that is the 10,000th place, the 3. And to do that, I look at the number before the 3, which is the 5. So if it's 5 or bigger, I round the 3 up, and it is, so I'm going to round up to a 4. So this would round to 6,574,840,000. Next, we can round to the nearest thousandths place. So here is the thousandths place, and to round this, I'm going to look at the number before it, which would be the 2. So the 2 is less than 5, so therefore I keep this number right here at 5. So that stays as 6,574,835,000. Next we can round to the nearest hundredths place. So the hundredths place would be the 2. So to round that, I look at the number before it, which is the 1. And the 1 is less than 5, so therefore I keep the 2 at 2. So when I round, that would be 6,574,835,200. And then lastly, I can round to the nearest tens place. So the tens place is the 1. To round, I look at the number before it, which is the 0. And that's clearly less than 5. So I keep the 1 at a 1. And so my answer would actually just be this original number. Alright, so my answer would be 6,574,835,210. So I guess 2 things to point out. First is that when you're doing each of these, when you round, you add zeros after until you get to the end. And then the other thing was, I noticed I kept saying you look at the number before, like the 1 or the 2. So yeah, if you're reading left to right, it would actually be the number after. But when I said before, what I'm referring to is the fact that when you are figuring out place value, you start from right to left. So like ones place, tens place, hundreds place, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, etc. So just want to clarify that in case that confused any of you. And that concludes our lesson for today. We will see you next time.